Welcome back to Full Discourse. I'm Josh Elkin, and if you didn't already know, this is a podcast where we talk about food. We talk about food history, we talk about food future, and I invite guests on to talk about all those things because they've been there. You know, these people have been making food content. They've been in the food industry some way or another. And today I have a very good friend. His name is Daniel Williams, by ways of Oakland through Austin and now Arizona, aka Danielson Williams on Instagram. The guy makes incredible food videos with awesome vibes.
The man's gassing me.
He hates the word vibes. Daniel, welcome to the podcast, man. Appreciate you coming over.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. So today's topic is controversial. How do I say this? Commercial friendly ads and content via the internet, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, whatever. And the reason that I want to talk about this with Daniel is because Daniel makes really awesome vibed out food videos that are coupled with amazing songs. But beyond that, you also smoke a lot of weed.
I do.
So talk to me about that. How'd you start doing that?
Actually, it was a coping mechanism of a bad breakup.
Yeah.
My brothers.
Just so you know, by the way, I know Daniel very well. We talk almost every single day, and this is the first I've heard about a bad breakup. So
yeah, my brothers. The typical post high school, early college breakup, and not sleeping or you're not eating. So my brothers got tired of seeing their little Eeyore brother, being depressed. So they're like, yo, enough of this. And I was very anti-cannabis. My family's very athletic. So to me, smoking weed was like the alternate path of what I was trying to do in life.
You're like, if I'm not in a sport, then I'll smoke weed.
Pretty much.
But because I'm an athlete,
don't do it. Because it leads you down to doing cocaine. Then it leads you down to doing crack. Then the next thing you know, you're on the street.
It's a gateway drug to mostly junk food.
Yeah, seriously. And then literally after my first hit, my brother had on the John Mayer album. We were outside, typical Texas summer night. The vibes were right. And since then, it's been kind of just a part of what I do throughout the day now.
Yeah.
Helps my ADHD, helps me kind of slow down my thoughts. Sometimes my thoughts get a little too jumbled and that gets overwhelming. So sometimes cannabis will help me kind of regulate some thoughts out.
So just like what came first, the chicken or the egg, what came first, the weed or the food?
The weed.
The weed came first.
I was actually, I didn't really have a love for food. It was, for me at that point, it was, I'm hungry, I'm just going to eat something, and didn't really have an overthought about what I really wanted to eat and this and that. That didn't start until I actually got sick after coming back from a shoulder surgery. And
by the way, what kind of sickness, if you don't mind me asking?
I still to this day don't know. I was out for a good 3 weeks, lost 25 pounds, couldn't breathe. Doctors didn't know. They said it wasn't pneumonia. So still don't know.
But you're good.
I'm good now. Yeah. But literally, I felt like after I came out of that, food curiosity came with me recovering from that illness. Started watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay content on Hulu. Started watching Action Bronson's Fuck That's Delicious. And then certain movies I started watching. Chef. Mr. Church was a really big one with Eddie Murphy. He plays a healthcare worker who will cook for families and all that stuff. And just food scenes really just started speaking to me. I don't know why, but they really started to captivate me. And those inspired me to start, cooking on my own. I was doing the whole, I'm going to download Tasty and see what I can cook off Tasty and all that stuff. And since then, I've kind of just let this whole journey kind of be fueled by my curiosity through cooking. At first it was, how can I do chicken parm the authentic way, to now, well, let me see if I can make an infused Pop-Tart.
Interesting that the cooking, not interesting, but it makes sense that the cooking came after the weed. It makes sense that the shows that you watch, like Fuck That's Delicious, I'm not sure what Gordon Ramsay shows you watch, but it makes
pretty much all of them
sense.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Gordon Ramsay fan. I like the guy, but I don't really watch his stuff. That's just me.
Him and my dad have similar personalities. My dad's that way about coaching sports. So I think I just kind of and in a way kind of find it funny that
Hey,
someone's
your
yelling
dad's
at
a
me.
shit.
My
He's a good
dad
guy.
is a savage for
Shout
sure.
out, Mr. Williams.
Yeah.
Would you say that like the food you make is munchy food?
No, I would say, funny enough, I started off being more centered around trying to impress people that I can cook and that I was very serious about being a foodie. And it got to a point where my wife and a couple of my friends were like, dude, these people could, like, you could fart. And as long as you kind of just have some good music with it, the people are going to enjoy it. So I started to really kind of taper down the seriousness on what I was trying to cook and just kind of have more fun with it. I would say recently it's been more munchy food, especially around this time with April with 420. But I try and just do meals that I would eat myself.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're munchy, sometimes they're like a family style dinner.
You know, I never asked you this, but I've always been curious about this question watching the stuff that you make. We were talking about this last night actually, and I make things that are casseroles and
Yeah.
large items and stuff like that. So after a bite or two, you know, it all goes to Jeff because he's got 3 roommates and a fast metabolism. But what you make is a little bit more contained. It's a little bit more like buttoned up.
Yeah, 1 to 2 servings I try and do.
So like, do you feed yourself and your wife, Katie?
Most time it's just Katie.
Okay.
I would say the first year I was eating my own food,
Mhm.
and then it just got to the point where I mean, I don't know how it is for you, but
Yes, you do.
after a while, like you kind of just, I think you kind of your mind gets so focused on this is it's something more than I'm going to eat this. This is something that, okay, it's been filmed. I need to go edit this real quick so that I can kind of enjoy the rest of my day. And I think that kind of takes over the eating part of our brain. So most time, all my food goes to Katie. Yeah.
I always say when people ask me like what kind of food that I make, I always say that it's like an artistic expression through food. I think you're the same, but your artistic expression is not just with the food, it's with the music as well.
Yeah.
Like music is a humongous part of
Huge.
your brand, right?
Huge part of my life.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
And I would say that I come from a very musically inclined family. My great grandfather was a jazz musician in Oakland, big time. Everybody in my family except for me played a musician in church and was in the choir, whatever.
Played an instrument.
Yeah.
Not a musician.
Did I say musician?
Yeah, they're actors.
All right. Smoking
All of a
good weed.
sudden, right?
Sorry about that. But there was always music being played throughout the house, especially during like your spring cleaning time. My dad would have these big boom boxes, and it was either gospel or R&B or some hip hop.
Love that.
And at the time, I loved the sound of music. I didn't take in the lyrics. They wouldn't register to me. That didn't start happening after I was smoking cannabis, and I was like, what are they saying? So then I would actually look up the lyrics, and there's like a light bulb. And then that's when I actually started getting really serious about music. So since then, music has, I mean, people like to wake and bake. I literally wake up and put music on immediately.
Yeah, you're. I mean, I always thought that I was a music guy too. Like I listened to music constantly, all the time, different types of music. Then when we met, by the way, Daniel and I are fast friends. We became friends about 9 months ago.
Yeah, in Seattle,
July, maybe.
July.
Yeah, 9
Maybe a
months
little longer.
9 months ago, and we hit it off right away. And we have very similar tastes in music. And I always consult you about stuff and give you things that I'm listening to, and you do the same with me. And then I started to put more music behind my videos, my cooking videos, and I would hit Daniel up every morning and be like, yo, can you help me get a track? And then after like 3 or 4 times, he's like, yo, stop asking me. Here's a playlist. Randomly pick one every single time.
You'll be good.
And for the last, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Maybe like 10 videos. I've been doing that.
All the time.
Yeah. It's like, you're
Works
like,
well.
You feel like a proud dad. You're like,
100%.
Josh, use this one. You know? Love that. You know what's funny? Before we met, which was at a food event in Seattle, I wasn't following you. But I had seen your content, and there's always something that kind of like resonates with me when I see someone's content, even though I might not remember who they are personally.
Yeah.
And after we hung out and after all that stuff, I was like, oh, you're not the weed guy. You're not the music guy. You're the guy that closes the cupboard.
Yeah.
Because you sometimes, and you don't always end like that.
No, I do now. Yeah.
You do it now because it's like a trademark, right? You don't have like some stupid word
That's
like
funny.
nailed it, you know? It,
That's
I
the first time someone has like put that like those two together with me.
what the cupboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most time it's you're the guy who puts the record on, smoking, and starts. I'm like, yeah. But that's the first time
No, the cupboard.
Yeah, that's the first time.
Yeah. Only months later I was like, oh shit, you're
Yeah.
that guy. Now we're friends. Look at that.
Best friends.
Dude, I was invited to your wedding. I'm just saying, fast
All
friends,
time.
wedding.
What's up?
Music, food videos paired with weed. Um, Everything's super aesthetically inclined.
Yeah.
In fact, even the way you light the joint,
Mhm.
which is such a mesmerizing aspect of your videos.
Yeah, it was funny too because it didn't start that way. It actually started with like a half second of me just the act of rolling a joint, and then I would just go into it. And then I did a rolling tutorial, and I have a great fan base in Brazil. The first rolling tutorial I put out, they started flooding my comments with the word pastel, and I was like, what does pastel mean? And so one of my followers like DM'd me. He goes, "Yo, they're calling your joint trash. Like it's a in Brazil, it was a poorly rolled joint." So I was like, all right, well then how do you guys roll yours? And then that was the way that they showed me. So then I was like, well, this looks a lot more appealing on camera. It takes a little bit more effort to me, but
for those who don't know, never seen Daniel's stuff, he's talking about a reverse rolled
Yeah.
joint where basically you tuck the glue underneath in the beginning and then you burn off all the excess paper. And the way you film it, the way you show it is you light it and it just burns all the way across like like TNT's
party trick.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good. So let's get into the meat of things of like kind of the topic of the topic of today's pod, which is, you know, essentially prohibition for weed.
Mhm.
Weed is legal in so many countries. I'm Canadian. Canada went legal at the entire country at the same time, whereas here in the States, it's very much governed by specific states. It's 100% federally illegal,
Yes.
which I find hilarious. But people, you know, smoke weed. It's not like
All the time.
no one hides it anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's TV shows, there's brands, there's celebrity endorsements, and all these types of things. Yet it's still kind of taboo, right? Like I was talking to someone yesterday. I was telling them about the podcast, and they even said to me, like, yeah, you know what? Like I still think it's a little taboo, you know? And I was like, well, that's interesting because the way I think of it is in the 20s, 1920s, when alcohol was illegal, it was kind of the same thing. But now alcohol is so mainstream.
But all those people who were saying like it was taboo were the same ones who were going to go back home and finding moonshine to drink.
100%.
So I think this whole notion of controlling what people do as humans, it'll never work. There's always going to be pushback with that, especially with cannabis. Cannabis has been around for all of ancient history, especially for, you know, even back in biblical times, there's traces of it.
Did we ever have that conversation?
Yes.
Yeah, we did, right?
I believe so.
The burning bush?
Yes.
Psilocybin and all that.
So it's, I don't even like that it's taboo because people who say that it's not marketable or whatever were probably smoking it when they were 20 to whatever years old. So it's not like no one, for instance, it's not like it's heroin where like no one, for the majority, no one touches it.
Yeah.
For the majority, people use it, but it's still deemed as inappropriate or not ad friendly, which is
that's the conundrum for me.
Yes. You either get really hungry, you get really tired, or you might have a nice little panic attack to yourself.
Yeah.
But, you know, grow up and deal with it. Welcome to life, baby.
You might get sleepy. That's a metaphor for life.
Yep.
You might get hungry. Same. You might have a panic attack. That's life in 2024.
Literally.
Like,
so
get used to it. When you first started posting food videos, were you posting it with weed right away? Or
I actually deleted Instagram for a good full year.
Of course you did.
During COVID. But yeah, I just needed a break from everybody freaking out for a whole year and everybody needing to put their opinions on things that really didn't matter to us.
And this is while you were using it as a user. You had no inclination of like actually being a food influencer.
Zero.
So that makes sense. I get that.
Started like following Josh Wiseman, all like your typical Steven, our good friend Steven. I just, whatever they were cooking, I wanted to see if I can cook myself. And then I started realizing that people were using the same music and it was bothering me. like the same viral trendy
Does that still
songs.
bother you?
Yes.
Me too. I
Like,
hate it.
there's a whole library of music from since it was being recorded from the 1910s to now. Like, I don't know why we're still using trendy songs that you heard from the last video. It bothers
Me to see like
me.
20-second videos of food videos where it's like there's like 4 of them in a row
Yes.
and they all have the same song.
I can't do it.
Like, hey, we get it. Your girlfriend's a musician. Shots fired.
Shots fired right there. That's was shotgun.
Okay, so anyway, so you were watching all these guys.
That one took me out right there. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was that, and then I also knew that I needed to, if I was going to bring in a video, it had to be something completely different from what people were seeing. And what was in, was it 3 years ago, was your face being 90% of the frame, and food was like
when everyone was bending down?
Yes, at the counter, like, today we're going to, it's like, all right.
Careful.
Yeah, seriously. There's tripods. We can raise the tripod. Yeah. It doesn't have to be this way.
No, but like one person sees one trendy video doing that, now everyone's got to do it, right?
And it was a lot of, no pun intended, but facial shots of videos. And I thought it wasn't inspiring to cook. And what I got inspired by was, like I said, the movie Chefs and Mr. Church, where the food wasn't as romanticized as the art and the act of cooking was. And that's what I wanted to bring through my content was, the food might look cool, but it's really the act of cooking that I find peace in.
So that's why in your content, in your videos, being different than me, yours are not super tight shots of the food, not super tight shots of you either. It's more of like you making the food, which I always liked about your videos. Your dancing's a little cringy, I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, some people gotta do it.
It's fine. I appreciate it. But I like it. All kidding aside, I get what you mean. Like, and by hearing you say that you romanticize it,
mm-hmm.
I've seen you roll a joint, and I know you can roll a joint fast.
Yeah,
but you've never rolled the joint fast.
No,
because you're romanticizing the process. Part of the process. Yeah. I don't smoke anymore, but when I did, part of the love of smoking for me was rolling the joint. The ritual.
Yep.
Because what are we without the rituals? I love coffee. I make coffee every single morning. I grind beans every morning. It's part of that. It's like the ritual. It's the same kind of thing.
Yes.
So after you got on Instagram, followed a bunch of food accounts, deleted it, you went back to it. To start making content?
Yeah. I was kind of bored, and I had posted a story of an overhead shot of myself making a fried chicken sandwich. And I had like 10 or 12 hits from my own friends, like, dude, this is dope or whatever. And my sister and my brothers had already been kind of pushing me to like start making videos. And then, that I'm an introvert and normally shy at first. So I was very hesitant to do that. And then I just went for it. I was like, I think the only way that's going to really set me apart is putting cannabis in it, and worked out.
I never asked you this, but like, how did you jump so fast? What happened? Was there like a pivotal, not a pivotal moment? Was there like a benchmark moment where like shit just started popping for you?
I would say the benchmark was the first video. The first video did like 10,000 likes in the first day.
Okay, which is
crazy.
In a year, that's crazy.
First time doing a video,
likes.
That's insane. Yeah,
not even views, like likes. That's a lot.
And then the next one was Roy Choi. I did I pretty much like I did like a video where I was watching that famous scene where it was either the one he was making grilled cheese or he was making the pasta dish.
In the movie or
in the movie show?
Or the show?
No, the movie.
Okay.
And
the aglio olio?
Yeah. I'd pause it and then I'd go make the dish, and he actually reposted that video on his story. And then after that, like,
oh, really? Yeah. I didn't realize that Roy Choi helped you, indirectly helped you. We were just talking about him the other day.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So, but I think that would be the only two recognizable like
pushes.
And I think and we've seen it now with, I think if you're new to the space and it catches a little bit of traction, you're going to get pushes.
the Instagram zeitgeist, if you will.
Yes, you're gonna get a push, and really just depends on how long that push lasts. Really.
So did you know the golden rule of content creating right away, which is like you got to keep making videos?
No, I was anti any of like what the rules were.
You still are.
Very.
Yeah.
And you don't like it either.
No. I try and teach you.
I know, and I always push back.
To a point.
I remember the first things that people were telling me, like, you gotta upload more and you gotta start hashtagging stuff.
Okay.
And I was just like,
nah.
No. So I would do it like, I would say I'm gonna post once a week just because I'm living like my own life. This is not my life.
Yeah.
And
by the way, what were you doing? You were a teacher.
I was I was like a teacher assistant in a high school.
Okay.
Yeah. That was life right there.
Dude,
that was chill.
We never even talked about that.
We can definitely talk about that.
We talked about that.
Yeah. Those kids are awesome. Okay. But yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna be doing this whole like post every day. I didn't go into it craving attention, so I'm not gonna do anything for the attention. Like, this is something that I just enjoy doing, so I'm just gonna do it. Now that it's my business, that's completely different, and I'm starting to come around to some of the games. But I'm still gonna play the game my own way though.
But the interesting thing about that, and I can completely relate. It's like, sure, you don't want to do it for the attention. Then you realize that the attention is kind of like part of the business plan. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're also making the food and the content because you love it.
Yes.
You love the music. You love the cooking. Mm-hmm. Like, we have conversations almost every single morning where we talk about like what we're going to make and like all these types of things. And you're like, I'm going to do this. And it's like, cool. And then I say, I'm going to do this. And you're like, how the fuck are you going to do that?
Yeah. Which honestly, it makes it easier too. Cause one of the first things that I was asked as a food content creator was, what type of food do you make? Mm-hmm. And I was just like, everything.
That's like, because you're not.
There's no niche food.
You're not typical like that. You know, like we're talking about our friend Stevie mm-hmm. Boy. He's an Italian guy, and he makes Italian food, and he likes drawing attention to that because he's really, really good at it, and that's his genre.
Yes.
For you, it's less about the type of food you make, and it's more about the vibe videos. Like, 100%. What kind of chef are you? I know you hate the word vibe, but like you're
the vibe is
feeling. Is there a better word for this? Like,
nah, vibe is just a great word. Yeah. I just hate how often it's used.
But that's what you do. You make vibed out videos focused around food. That's the type of chef you are. Yeah. What kind of food do you make? It's not about the food. It's about the video. It's about the feeling.
If you don't watch my videos and say, I want to cook something, then I didn't do what I feel like I wanted to do.
Yeah. It's like, what's your elevator pitch? I get stoned and vibe out while I make food.
Listen to good music and make myself a dish.
How long have you been doing this? 3 years?
3 years. I think we're coming up on 3 years.
So just mid-pandemic, let's say?
A little after.
Okay.
Which is also another thing too. That's
helped.
I think the content creators are understanding that we're not in the golden era of making content, which was when everybody was locked in their house and had nothing to do. And all you had to do was watch
That's
stuff.
Your golden era.
Well,
my golden era.
No, I'm talking about for content or content creation.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of people adjusting to being used to those really high numbers, and those numbers are not as high now. And I think we're going to be coming upon a evolution of content creation, some form or some way.
Yeah, we always talk about adapt or die, evolve or dissolve. That's a real thing. I've been doing it for so long. Steven, same thing. Mm-hmm. Like we're doing it together now.
Yeah.
So, do you remember your first brand partnership?
I want to say it was a wine company out in Austin.
Interesting.
It was a black winemaker. He made rosé. Sent me some rosé, and I didn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
I was just like, okay. So I made poached pears.
Oh.
Put some ice cream on it, and yeah, that was my first one. At the time it was like $5,000.
That's still good.
That's still good, but especially in the beginning where you're like, at the time I literally told myself, if this gets me free weed and some new pots and pans, like, cool.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden someone's offered me $5,000 to use their wine. I was like, excuse me?
3 years later, don't send him anything for free. He wants the bag.
It's a business now.
It's a business
now.
That's so interesting that given the topic we're having right now, the grandiose topic that we're using, which is the whole conflict of using cannabis, the first brand deal you had was cannabis's arch nemesis, which is alcohol.
I think they actually work kind of together. Just
cannabis and alcohol?
I think it's not alcohol.
What?
Oh, well, technically it is, but I think weed and wine is a very great pairing if done correctly. I don't advise people who don't often smoke weed to try that because it'll probably start spinning.
I remember as a kid when I first started smoking weed. As a kid, when I was a young adult, I'm responsible. It was like, don't mix weed with alcohol. You're gonna be sick. And then you realize, you're just drinking too much.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. But if you know your tolerance and your balance, I think weed and wine is a great food pairing too.
Yeah.
It's a great. I mean, we've had dinners here. We've done the whole weed and wine of food.
I mean, when I was smoking, I was drinking like too.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's great.
It's so back to what I was saying. It's really interesting that like the weed thing kind of cripples you a little
100%.
but the alcohol thing doesn't. Ironically enough, your first brand deal was an alcohol company.
Yeah.
So that's just fucked up.
It's pros and cons. The pros is that that everyone does it, and there's a reason why everyone loves the page is because, going back to why I started making my own videos with the whole it was honestly just because I was getting spiteful of the people making or choosing music. It was also to, I worked in the cannabis field for a while. I was a bud tender. Yeah, did the whole behind the counter, but this was actually during the medical time. So I would actually speak to patients, and I would have to actually know everything about what was in store.
Yeah.
But I wanted to change the perception of potheads or cannabis use. Typical. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna be lazy, and I wanted to show that that's not the case, and you can go about your life with a couple hits every once in a while.
Yeah, and you're not lazy at all.
No,
by any means.
Can't do it.
At the end of the day, like this is a business. We're content creators. There's millions of us out there, and when I say business, I mean we got to earn. Like, we got to make money. So I have here like some policies. This is like a Facebook kind of like ad policy.
Okay. I actually need to know this too because I'm always getting suspended. So
so this is, I actually have here like a Meta ad-friendly policy printout, which applies to you because it's not only just Facebook, it's also Instagram now that they own them. So I don't know. I mean, like when you monetize content, you're giving brands the ability to promote themselves within the videos that you create. So brands can freely promote whatever. Advertisers have the ability to automatically prevent their ads from appearing within content we have flagged as being risky to various degrees. So this applies to you, right? So you can't get a brand deal with XYZ company because they don't want to fuck with Meta's ad-friendly policy. This means that content which meets our community standards and partner monetization policies may still only be viable to small number of advertisers. So if they don't care, then it's probably a smaller pool, which means there's less money, an opportunity. If that happens, you likely have fewer ads placed in your content and may earn less money overall. We know that. Some subjects are particularly sensitive to advertisers. The examples below are given ratings to demonstrate how likely your content would be to receive ads from a larger number of advertisers. So there's 4 scales of what could be deemed shit. Okay for almost all advertisers is your content's available to the largest number of advertisers because it's likely to be filtered out by brands. It's so vague, but that's
also how they get away with a lot of shit.
I make a conscious effort to not show. I don't smoke weed anymore, but I don't show weed in my stuff. I don't talk about it. I don't do anything controversial. I don't fuck with politics, whatever, all that sort. Yeah, right. So, and I do that because in my head, that's how I can earn the most money. Like I've always kind of been like that, given the history of what I've come from in the content creator space. Like we were the opposite of that back in the day. We were like the most offensive.
Yeah.
Right. Second level is okay for most advertisers. Okay. So this is kind of like getting more into the controversial sort of stuff. Your content is available to fewer advertisers because it's likely to be filtered out by some brands, which can impact your earnings. Right. So okay for almost all advertisers, okay for most advertisers. It's like 1 degree down, right? And then okay for few advertisers. Your content isn't available, which means your content isn't available to most advertisers because it's likely to be filtered by most brand, which can severely impact. In Meta Business Suite, these videos may display an orange or yellow monetization icon. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Me neither. I've never seen that. And then blocked. You know this.
Oh, I definitely know that one.
Which is obviously like you can't be monetized.
Yeah.
Period.
TikTok and Twitter right now.
So when you were blocked or have been blocked or banned,
not even blocked. I've had my page just completely deactivated a couple times on Instagram.
Is it? Do you think it's just the weed, or do you think it's maybe also the music that you use?
I think it's the weed.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, Instagram. I'll speak on Instagram because I mainly use it, but they provide you a whole library of music that's no different from Spotify. So I would find it kind of weird that they would block me for music that they're already providing themselves.
You think that's a move because they don't want you to embed the music? They want you to use their music because you embed the music in your.
I
videos,
do
right?
now.
Yeah,
I stopped doing it probably like a year ago when someone showed me the way to actually do it. I would literally edit my clip and then I would go into the Instagram app and see if I can like play the song at the right time.
Yeah.
But now I actually do it myself.
Yeah, me too.
No, I think it was all cannabis. Which honestly, my gripe is not really even with companies. Like we know companies protect the dollar, all of them. It's more on a societal outlook on cannabis. It's the fact that it is deemed not marketable when now we got, your soccer moms are taking gummies at their soccer games.
Dude, you drive by a dispensary and you're like, that's the person coming out of there? It's a stigma.
It is. And I don't think we're too far away. I actually think weed is becoming uncool because it's now legal. So I don't think we're too far away from getting over that hump. As far as a business that incorporates cannabis, it is extremely frustrating.
What I just read, like all these like okay for some, okay for most, banned, whatever, like that's Meta deciding what that is, right? And like places like YouTube does that too, but it goes beyond just cannabis. It's like, okay, if you say something about a war that's going on, you get fucking canceled.
Absolutely.
If you say something about LGBTQ
but
plus,
if you're not repeating the narrative that they want you to repeat, you're going to get banned.
Yeah, but you could be, we were talking about it before, like you could say something, you could be like a sex ed person making sex ed videos and you say a keyword, a hot word about something that it's flagged. And it's the companies that are making those decisions, and those decisions impact people's businesses.
Absolutely.
So where do we even go with that?
I mean, to bring up another point, I can't make, I make money doing what I do, but I get deemed inappropriate for Instagram sometimes, but I've seen plenty of like OF girls' nipples on Instagram.
I mean,
so I don't know
all the time.
What the hell is that?
But then you ask yourself, like, are they even earning? That's on Instagram. Like,
no,
what are they doing over there,
If we're going to be so tight with the whole community guidelines, there's porn on your site or on your app.
Yeah.
So don't come to me about using a hot word when there's tits and nipples all up on my explore page. And not my explore page. I'm just saying for the video. Don't.
Get safe.
Yeah, get safe. I've seen my friends' explore page and they're all covered. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about like pivoting and like taking the weed out, or like has that ever crossed your mind?
It's come across my mind. I also don't want to and you know that weed's not like, I'm not like weed is my all be all of my life.
Yeah.
So that I also don't want to be known as the weed guy.
You don't want to pigeonhole yourself.
Like for an example, like no one looks at Action Bronson and goes, "Oh, you're the guy who smokes weed on your travel trips."
Yeah.
He just does it.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want it to be labeled as that. So I think it's also my job to put out more content that's not just me smoking it in the kitchen. And I feel like we do that with the traveling trips and the voiceovers as well. But I think with the initial introduction of myself, that will probably be a part of my brand for a while. So
do you fear that if you do stop and then it happens, you'll have lost that type of audience or whatever?
No, because if you're going to stop watching me because I stopped smoking weed, then that's on you. I think that's...
So you're comfortable with?
Yeah. I'm always going to be comfortable with what I choose in my personal life well more than my decisions in content creation. I will say that there was one time where I didn't put the burning of the joint initially in the intro. I was making creme brulee, which has to stay in the fridge for overnight or for like a good time. So I rolled the joint after I put it in the fridge, and I got like hundreds of comments like, "Dude, where's the joint?" And blah blah blah. I was like, "Damn, like people really love the joint." It was still in the video, just wasn't the initial thing
Wasn't
that
at the
they
top.
saw. So at the time, my manager was like, "You've created a brand." So that's
But that's okay, right?
yeah,
Like there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
And
Like I said, it's up to me as I get older and as my fan base, or I don't even like saying that, my audience grows with me. It's my job to just introduce more content that I just don't want it to be focused around weed, which I don't think it is. But that's
it's a 3-tier
yeah,
process that you have. It's not focused around weed. It's just weed is
the
part
initial
of
part
the
of
is
the
part of
yeah,
the focus, you know?
yeah.
But that's okay.
It's part. I mean, that's what I do in my regular life. So it's
Yeah, and you want to be authentic to yourself and you
absolutely.
want to show your authenticity through your art
Hmm.
or whatever. We were having a conversation a couple days ago with our friend, and his manager told him, I've never been told this, but his manager told
Hmm.
him, it's just really hard to sell a straight white male today. And my answer to that was, you're not to him was, you're not working hard enough.
Yes,
That's what you got to say.
I agree with that.
But like, that's a fact. Like there's not that that's a fact, but it's a fact that
There's some merit to it.
there's discrimination across the
Yes.
board. I don't know where it comes from, or like, I don't know who feels, every marginalized person feels a certain way
Hmm.
about certain things. And that's kind of bullshit in the sense of managers and stuff like that, because they're just not working hard enough. So they
Yeah.
use that as an excuse. Like, we know people that have very small audiences that earn a substantial amount,
A great amount of money.
who, like, I did have a frank conversation with my managers recently, and I said all these things, and I was like, I am one of, if not the most friendly brand person on
Correct.
your roster who's a man.
Correct.
So what the fuck, right?
The whole white male thing too is absolute bullshit.
There's an audience for everybody.
Yes.
It's just
We're in
they're
America.
trying to bend to the brands instead of explaining and selling it. I follow this guy in Australia who does very similar stuff to you.
Mhm.
He plays a song, sparks a joint, cooks.
What's his name?
Young
Oh, I've
Cook
seen his
God.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's good. But the guy gets fucking tons of views and shit, and he has sponsorships. Is it because it's like a geographical thing? Like, he's in Australia, so it's okay? Like, I don't know.
I really hate kind of chalking it up to this because I don't like speaking about like the race stuff. But I feel 100% that there is a little bit of when it comes to brand deals and certain things outside of content, Black creators get a little bit of um, a blind eye for sure. We either get, I really hate saying this shit too, but it's either going to be less
I can't
money.
say it.
I know it's either going to be less money or we're not going to be even offered.
Do you think that that's
So
intentional, or do you think it's kind of like unintentional?
I think it's both ways, like you just said. I watched a video once, and it was these guys on a podcast, and the host was he was Puerto Rican, and his co-host was light skin, and
Light
the
skin, what?
just light skin,
Just like,
black and white.
okay.
Um, and
For the viewers that don't know,
yeah, the guest was a black male, and he said, "You guys are going to do well because you guys are marketable. You guys are fair skinned, but you guys, I don't know what you are, so you guys are gonna be more relatable to the person who's gonna be watching." And I thought that was kind of spot on, and I think that's pretty accurate, honestly.
do you think it's the audiences that tune in? Do you think it's the companies that push? Do you think it's like a societal, like, brainwash? What do you?
All in the one.
It's all like has pieces of all
I
those
think
things.
each of these marketing departments all have a case study or something that they're trying to push. That's first and foremost. Even with um, fashion shows, they're very picky on who's gonna be walking for them. Not even on race, just purely on look. There's a vision that they are trying to get across. There's certain ways to market certain groups of people, and I think it's used. There's a lot of, especially now with the increase in interracial couples, you see a lot of interracial couples in commercials. I think I think companies do their best to try and please everyone. At the same time, they piss off everyone. If that makes sense.
We were talking about that earlier. Like, there's always going to be someone
Yeah,
offended or concerned
yeah,
or whatever it may be.
and they're always going to follow the political correctness of whatever it is. No one wants to be in hot water right now as a brand and get canceled and get flamed on Twitter, and
And that shit changes, right? Like, it shifts all the time.
it's always ebb and flow for sure. So I feel like there's first and foremost, if you're a content creator, your business model should not be waiting for brand deals. Let me get that out the way right now.
What did you say?
So your business model should not be waiting for brand
It
deals.
should not.
That has been my business model for the past 2 years, and I can tell you it's extremely stressful and not that successful. You need to make your own business model, and the brand deals are a good side piece of change.
I told
That's
you
how it
that.
should be.
I told you that right away. I tell
Yes.
people that all the time. You have to have multiple sources. Like, it's like in any business. You have to have multiple sources of income. You have to be ready to not rely on one source, because if you do and they stop,
You get stuck.
or they, then what are you supposed to do?
Exactly.
Like, I've had a conversation with another larger creator, and she was telling me that I don't know what to do. The brand deals are stopped. I'm like, well, what's your other sources? She's like, what do you mean? And I was like,
Exactly.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And then you never know when you're going to be marginalized, and when maybe something's going to happen where a company, whether it's a social media platform, whether it's a brand, just doesn't want to work with you anymore, or some type of discrimination potentially happens where you're fucked, right?
I think the marketing game is constantly moving. So it's definitely you should definitely have that concern that it could be here today and absolutely gone tomorrow.
You just said something that triggered something for me. Like, when you say, like, when marketing when marketing fucks over a type of person, do you think that it's intentional, or do you think that the marketing kind of provides that? Like, if they're marketing to a class of audience that just doesn't like a type of person.
Oh yeah, then why would I put that person on my campaign?
Yeah, but then, like, then we realize that there's like a trend here,
Yeah,
right?
like we just said, businesses and corporations will always protect the dollar, and if they take in the fact of, hey, we're going to be hit by this certain people, they're not really selling to those people, so they're going to be okay with pissing those people off, as long as they don't piss off people who are going to be that they're actually trying to be selling to, like your typical high end fast brands. There's always some narrative with like rappers will come out and tweet out like every once in a while like, yo, we're done wearing Louis V's, they're not supporting us and blah blah blah. It's well, they're not selling to you guys, you know.
I mean, that shit's been happening
It's always been
forever.
happening.
Do you remember when Cristal got all like racist towards
Yep,
rappers, and then all of a sudden Jay-Z comes out with Ace of Spades? And that's it for Cristal,
that's it.
right?
So it's a weird game. I really don't like putting it to race. So I like, for me, if I put it towards race, I think of it as like a mental block of now it's a pity party
Mm.
instead of, all right, well, fuck them. I'm gonna go find someone else who wants to work with me. It's as simple as that. Um, but I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I don't have thoughts that being black is a little bit of a hindrance, and also smoking cannabis, so doesn't help as much.
No.
But for the people fuck with it, and that's really
I mean,
that's all I really care
it
about.
just sucks because there's decision makers that are so fucking
Yes,
stupid and blinded by
I have
ridiculousness.
reached out to plenty of brands who I thought it was an easy, perfect, synchronized, like, this is great business. I can do something for you guys, blah, blah, blah. And then just never turns out. Yeah, I mean, we have a friend who, but
Great guy.
great guy, great guy, and great content too. Like, I'm not. This is no spite to his content because I actually love his content, but he doesn't get near the engagement that you and I get on some stuff. But he makes well more than me, and so whenever I hear brands, whenever you guys are negotiating a brand deal, they'll ask for your insights. And I'm at the point now where like, does this really fucking matter though?
No, it doesn't.
Like, why am I sending you guys this if it clearly doesn't matter?
I go through that shit all the time.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, but look.
And also to the insights, you can scroll on my page and you can see the insights.
They want to know like specific demographics.
It's
how long they're watching, where they're coming from.
Do you want your product to be seen or not?
I think that people don't really give a shit. I think a lot of the times it's optics.
They don't. But I mean, for me, and you saw my stuff, that's up to the creator to do a good job and incorporating that brand. And like, you do a great job with doing that with Hawaiian, the Hawaiian sweet rolls or anything food related. You do an amazing job doing that for your brand. So it becomes more of, for me to do Josh's recipe, I need to get the Hawaiian sweet rolls. Yeah. So those people will actually go buy Hawaiian sweet rolls. But if you're going to pay me to, I hope he doesn't watch this, but if you're going to pay me to use your wine, ain't nobody's going to do that. They're going to go to Walmart and go find the cheapest bottle of rosé and do the recipe.
100%.
So it's, to me, I think that's up to the content creator to do a good job of incorporating that brand into.
I agree, but I've been an example of this. Sometimes it doesn't even matter what you can provide. They just don't want to work with you.
Yes.
Correct. But my answer to that, and what I tell my managers,
it's a good strategy too,
is find it. It's out there. If you can't sell me or you can't find a brand that wants to work with me, you're just not working hard enough.
Correct.
Right? And I say this all the time, the cream rises to the top. Mm-hmm. If you're true to yourself and you're true to your content, then it'll happen. You just have to have perseverance, sadly.
I was telling my family this not so long ago. Like, the attention all came too quick for me. Love it, but it came too quick where I didn't get a chance to learn about the business first and make my mistakes while I didn't have a full audience. But now I'm in the process of, okay, the attention's there and let's maintain the content and also evolve, but also it's time to actually learn the business now.
But you also met a lot of people along the way that you can like kind of ask questions who have been there.
Yeah.
We have conversations about, I had to talk you off the ledge the other day.
Yes. You have to talk me off the ledge a lot.
Listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and everything that you experience within reason, given what we were just talking about, like I could I could speak to that.
And I think people also misjudge that or misassume that, like, this is, don't get me wrong, content creation's fun because it's on our own schedule. We get to be creative and blah, 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 but it is very stressful as a business to do every single day and have the inspiration to do it. And two, to, some days you're going to post a video and it's not going to get shit.
Yeah.
And
or you're not going to be inspired to even do the video.
And I don't care what creator tells you. If nothing gets that many likes, it fucking hurts. It sucks.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell you. If I don't get a certain number, I'm pissed off the rest of the day. And I'm working on that. But it definitely,
it's that dopamine.
It's the dopamine.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying about Meta, how they'll reward someone and they'll give them that push. And then once they've deemed that, okay, you've got what you need, we're going to give that pump or that bump to someone else. You're now chasing the dragon.
It's a false sense of reality.
Yes.
Because you've gained all this attention thinking it's you, which to a certain extent
it is for sure.
But
there's definitely a push behind you.
But then when it goes away and you kind of like it gets lower and slower,
yes,
then you're like, what am I doing?
Then you start
wrong?
Then you start to really question, like, all right, do I have to do something different? Yeah. Is it my voice? Is it
But there is a lot to that, right?
Yeah.
So like you have to change it up. You have to shift, bob and weave.
Yes.
You can't just use the same song with the same style video all the time
Yeah.
and hope that the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
This is the definition of success, of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Yep. I think about that shit all the time. You know? Yeah, I love eggs and making breakfast.
But I've done it 300 different ways.
296 to be exact.
4 off.
Okay. What is one thing or anything really that like someone has said or brought to your attention about you that you didn't think of or didn't know prior to that, based on like being out there?
You know, I'll let you be the judge if this guy was right or not. But you know that I'm very introvert and I don't like speaking. I've had a speech impediment, and all through kindergarten through like 5th grade, I was getting taken out of class to work on speaking and reading and all that stuff. So I remember like my first couple of voiceovers, I didn't want to do it, and I was getting pushed by people who were like, dude, you've got to start doing something else. So I started doing voiceovers, and one of the comments on the first one was, you have the personality of a wet paper, or what's that called? Cardboard box.
A wet cardboard box?
He said, you have the personality of a wet cardboard box. And I remember reading it, and I remember just like looking around the house like, damn, maybe I do. And then I heard it over. I was like, damn, there is no personality in this fucking voiceover. So I was like, maybe he's right. And then since then, I've tried to like make like little one-liners here and there. But
listen, you're
kind of hit
the most unnatural thing is to be on camera.
100%.
Okay, it's so unnatural.
Second thing is speaking to it.
Hearing your own voice is one of, if not the most unnatural thing ever. We were talking about before. I was like, fuck, I hate my voice. You're like, yeah, but that's you. You hate, like, obviously you hate your voice. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. I totally get that. And that's a learning curve that you get better. If you look at the first video, I'll show you later. If you look at the first video that I was ever on camera, like doing a instructional, it is so painful. It is painful. It is cringe. It's insane. Okay.
Since this is about comments, what do you have any advice for content creators who do you agree with the whole like don't read your comments?
No, I
Me
don't.
either.
I mean, if you're getting like 100,000 of them like Joe Rogan, sure.
Yeah.
But if you're getting like a couple hundred like we do,
there's some good feedback in them. I think
a human characteristic is to focus on the negative.
Yes.
So it's very easy to pass through like 10 or 20 really nice comments and then focus on one that says you have the personality of a wet cardboard box.
Because the whole time, by the way, was
fucking hilarious.
This is vibey. This is vibey. This is vibey.
And you're
this
like,
is
no,
vibey.
no. And then one, and they're like, ooh, I'm going to go in on this guy.
This motherfucker. And it hit. So it must have,
in my experience, the killing them with kindness aspect is the best thing you could do.
You got to get more likes than them. That's the key.
I go in on people who talk shit, and I'm like, and I'll be like, sometimes I'll be like, you must be new here. Like they'll be like,
that's a good
dude,
one.
all you do is use the same thing. Like, yeah,
welcome.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm a painter and I use not paint. But if I could give some advice, I would say, if you're gonna respond to hate, respond in kindness.
Yes, don't,
because that's what burns people even more.
Yeah,
you really want to fuck with them. Don't engage in the negativity. Respond with positivity, because then, if you have a loyal fan base, which you do, they'll go in on it. Let them do it.
Our good friend Alexa, because it was actually after like probably the first time we met.
Yeah,
and after the whole trip, I posted a video when I got back home, and she had carried on like her little our little sarcastic stuff, but she put it in the comments, and she got my fan base killed her.
You can't determine sarcasm through text.
My
so
God.
Obviously, and she's very sarcastic.
Very.
Yeah.
And there was, I think, 45 to 50 comments of hate below her comment. And I didn't have to say a single thing. I loved it.
She doesn't give a shit.
No.
She knows.
I loved it.
We've definitely covered a lot. I appreciate you driving all the way out from Arizona to do this podcast and only this podcast. Just kidding.
Yeah, I've been asked to do, Rogan asked me. Andrew Santino asked me.
Okay.
Joe Budden. I said, whoa. What day?
Nah.
Oh, no. That's Josh Elkin.
That's right.
The never skip back day. Yep. And you better have nailed it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You can find Daniel on Instagram and on YouTube, Danielson Williams with an underscore between Danielson and Williams.
Yep.
Vibed content, firstbevibe.com. You want some of that awesome merch?
It'll also be restocked here.
Yeah, you also
soon.
sell hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and an awesome knife.
Yeah, those
Make sure you check them out on all those things.
quickly.
If you're not already subscribed to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and video version on YouTube, then make sure you hit that button. And I'll see you on the next one, Danielson.
I will probably be back again.
Yeah. Maybe with a couple other people. We'll do like a 4-way. You know? Cool. Run the menu. Full Discourse is a podcast hosted by me, Josh Elkin, produced by Diane Kang, Melissa D. Mons, and Diamond M Print Productions. Camera operator Jeff Liu. Post-production sound by Coco Lawrence. Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson, and music by me.